I remember 10 years ago at the previous Jubilee that we had for the Queen. So far, so good. But I think for Charles, the biggest challenge is going to be establishing that presence on the world stage. And with so few royals...
The room had no cameras, no press, no entry in the court circular. Just two people, a 4-page document, and the full crushing weight of a decision years in the making. King Charles held the pen. Princess Anne stood across the table, still composed, watching every stroke. When the pen lifted, the silence was not awkward. It was absolute. The decree was signed. Camilla's HRH style and her status as Queen Consort had just been revoked, and the palace said nothing. The long road to this moment, a reign built on borrowed time. From the very beginning, this was not a marriage the palace celebrated openly. When King Charles III married Camilla Parker Bowles in April 2005, their wedding was a quiet civil ceremony. There were no large crowds at Windsor or a royal balcony moment, and it was not broadcast to the nation. The palace clearly signaled that this was a personal, not a constitutional matter. However, Camilla's role alongside the heir to the throne was significant in a constitutional sense. Camilla's journey to her title was complicated. Queen Elizabeth II did not attend their civil wedding, which spoke volumes without a word. It took years of careful public image work for Camilla. She attended charitable events and appeared alongside Prince Charles, gradually improving her image through her association with the late Queen. Eventually, attitudes at the palace changed. The monarchy is known for being patient and strategic. After Queen Elizabeth passed away on September 8, 2022, Camilla quickly became Queen Consort. This title came not from her family line, but from her marriage and a written wish from the late monarch during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations in February 2022. The palace hoped this endorsement would resolve any questions about her title. However, permanence in the monarchy is always under negotiation, often behind closed doors. By May 2023, at the coronation, the palace dropped the word consort from Camilla's title. She became simply Queen Camilla. Many viewed this as a win for Charles, who wanted to be with the woman he loved without shame. Others inside the palace saw it differently. They viewed Camilla's elevation as reliant on favor rather than blood, and that favor can be taken away. In February 2024, when King Charles's cancer was publicly confirmed, the palace began to focus more on continuity. The role of Counselors of State became more significant. The Counselors of State Act of 2022 had already included Princess Anne and Prince Edward, while Harry and Andrew were away from royal duties. The palace recognized the importance of knowing who could act on the king's behalf. By December 2025, the palace announced that the king's cancer treatment would move to a reduced and precautionary phase in 2026. The word remission was not included in any statements, while the term managed appeared regularly. The palace chose its words carefully. Reduced treatment does not mean recovery, and a monarchy with a sick king cannot afford uncertainty about who is in charge and why. What followed did not happen overnight. It was the result of careful planning over the course of a year. The decree did not come out of nowhere. It followed the usual decision-making process of the British monarchy, advancing steadily like the crown itself, the legal weapon. Charles could always use but chose not to deploy. Many people think that a royal title is permanent once it is given. This is not true. The facts about this are clear and recent, not hidden in the distant past. Under British law, the title, Her Royal Highness, HRH, is not a right for people who marry into the royal family. It is given through a formal document called letters patent. This document is issued by the monarch and sealed with the Great Seal of the realm. The House of Commons Library confirms that the HRH title can be taken away in the same way it is given. The monarch grants it and can revoke it. There is no need for an act of parliament, a public vote, or an appeal. There are recent examples, not just old ones. In 1937, King George VI issued letters patent stating that the Duchess of Windsor, Wallis Simpson, would not hold the HRH title. Edward VIII had abdicated to marry her, and this decision formalized that she would never be considered royal. The document was published, and after Wallis died, she no longer held the title. The Crown had made its decision clear. In 1996, Queen Elizabeth II issued letters patent stating that any woman who divorced a UK prince would lose her HRH title after the divorce. This was specifically in response to Princess Diana's upcoming divorce from Prince Charles. Once the divorce was final, Diana lost the title. The palace made this decision clear in legal language, and it was published in the London Gazette. In November 2025, King Charles himself issued letters patent to remove the HRH in prince titles from his brother Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor. This action was documented in the Gazette and confirmed by government officials, all without involving Parliament. The HRH title is not a peerage, so it does not need legislative approval. The monarch acts, and the Gazette records it. This is how it works legally. Charles had this power for nearly 3 years, but did not use it against Camilla. Insiders began to wonder in 2025 and into 2026 not whether he could use it, but whether he would find a reason to. King Charles had fought for Camilla for 50 years, wanting to give her the title of queen. He faced the tragedy of Diana's death and the public's grief while remaining devoted to Camilla. The question was whether he could put the institution above personal feelings. The answer came quietly, without cameras. It was not about him stopping his love for Camilla. Instead, it showed that he finally understood the crown requires the willingness to prioritize the institution over personal feelings, even when it concerns someone he loves deeply. Princess Anne, the most dangerous person standing near the throne. To understand why Princess Anne was in the room during the signing of the decree, you need to go back further than last week, or even further back than Camilla's marriage to Charles. The story begins in 1973 with a young Princess Anne and the man who connected her to Camilla long before either became part of the royal family. Before Camilla Parker Bowles became well known in Britain, Andrew Parker Bowles had a romantic relationship with Princess Anne. This relationship, often overlooked, has quietly influenced palace dynamics for decades. Some historians see it as a brief romance, while others believe it was more serious. Regardless, it created a complicated personal connection between two women who would eventually share the same royal space. Princess Anne has never discussed this connection publicly. She is known for her reserved nature. As the hardest working member of the royal family, she completed over 150 official events in a year, even in her 70s. Anne processes institutional issues through her sense of duty rather than through public statements or confessions. She understands where the lines are drawn and avoids crossing them, even when others do. Anne's relationship with Camilla has been carefully observed over the years. Royal insiders have noted the lack of warmth between them at public events, with only formal courtesy exchanged. In 2021, a palace insider said Anne felt frustrated with Camilla's growing prominence, believing she was taking charge and that she hardly had any time alone with her brother. However, by 2023, experts suggested that they had reached a form of understanding focused on supporting the monarchy without any emotional warmth, just a mutual recognition of their positions. By 2026, amid concerns about Charles's health and the palace's management of the succession, Anne's role became more active. The 2022 Councillors of State Act added Anne and Prince Edward to the official list of those who can act in the king's name. This change meant more than just symbolism. It granted them real authority. In June 2026, reports indicated that Anne had become protective of Prince Andrew's daughters, Beatrice and Eugenie, after they were reportedly excluded from Royal Ascot and the Chelsea Flowers Show. These exclusions were linked to Camilla's household. Anne did not make public comments but raised her concerns with Charles directly. She presented these issues as institutional rather than personal, highlighting exclusions without proper basis. When Charles reviewed Camilla's household decisions, he only shared the findings with one person before making a decision. That person was not a lawyer or a government official, it was his sister. Anne has spent her life understanding the monarchy's needs and has always stood ready to meet them. Anne's presence at that meeting was not about being confrontational with Camilla. It was a display of structural insight, which the monarchy relies on to weather personal challenges. The final trigger, the act that left Camilla without a defense. Every big decision made in the palace has a specific reason behind it. There is usually a clear moment when things change and cannot go back. Months of tension, shifts in power, and private notes add up until one clear pattern emerges. In Camilla's case, the tipping point didn't come from the tabloids, a leaked recording, or a public fight. It came from something quieter but just as serious. A clear pattern of actions within the palace that blurred the line between presence and interference. Sources familiar with the palace's internal communications reported that, in late 2025 and into 2026, decisions made by Camilla's team at Clarence House began to affect areas beyond her official role. These moves were not bold or dramatic. They were small and gradual, like redirecting a briefing note before it reached the king, altering communication without asking, or changing a guest list that affected people outside Camilla's direct influence. Each action seemed reasonable on its own, but together they formed a pattern that senior aides could not ignore. The palace's communication system, sensitive to any signs of conflicting authority, flagged this pattern. It was brought to the attention of those responsible for protecting the monarch's office. This led to a discreet review of the decisions, timestamps, and documented evidence. There was also concern about Camilla's public role during a time when Charles's health limited his public appearances. Events were arranged without coordinating with the palace. Statements were issued from Clarence House that hinted at a level of authority not constitutionally held by the Queen. Some media contacts helped create an image of Camilla as a stabilizing figure at the heart of the monarchy, rather than alongside it. This distinction is crucial inside the palace. In private notes and discussions leading up to a decision, the word misconduct was not used. Instead, they talked about a pattern. This behavior suggested that Camilla's team began to act as if her role was solid and exempt from review. But it was not. When King Charles received the summary of findings, he did not respond with anger. He rarely mixes emotion with institutional matters. Instead, he was silent for a long time. He asked for the document to be prepared and sent a quiet message to Princess Anne. Once he made his decision, he did not reconsider it. Charles understood better than anyone what signing the decree meant. This wasn't about Camilla's public image or the media. It was about a foundational principle. No title in the British monarchy has authority beyond its constitutional roots, no matter how long he fought to establish it. The decree would be signed. The palace would not explain. The room, the pen, the decree, and the silence that followed. The signing took place in a simple room, not in the grand throne room or other ceremonial areas of the palace. This was a conscious choice since it was just an administrative task rather than an event. The document was 4 pages long and written in legal terms. It referenced the original letter's patent that gave Camilla her title as Queen Consort and explained the details of the revocation. The king's legal advisors prepared it carefully and kept it confidential. The Great Seal of the realm was ready, and necessary discussions with the Cabinet Office were completed. Government officials were aware of what was happening, but no details leaked to the media or public. The palace can stay very quiet when needed. Princess Anne arrived on time, not early or late. She stood across from the table and kept her feelings to herself. Her role was to witness the signing and add her signature as a Counselor of State, authorized by the amended 2022 Act. The decree needed both the King's seal and her signature, and Anne was the right choice for the task. Charles reviewed the document one last time. People close to him note that he becomes completely still in serious moments. He doesn't hesitate or perform. He collects himself before taking significant steps. He has spent his life preparing for kingship, but nothing truly prepares one for the emotional weight of stripping titles from someone they have loved for 50 years. That weight filled the room, and everyone sensed it, though no one spoke. He signed the document. Anne signed it next. They carefully applied the Great Seal as required. The document was dated, confirmed, and placed in a formal red leather case used for important royal matters. They then started preparations to publish it in the London Gazette. There were no speeches, significant looks, or dramatic moments. This is not how the institution operates, nor is it how they work. After applying the seal, a deep silence followed. It was not just a pause. It was a profound stillness that came with a moment years in the making, leaving no words to express it. Then it was time to move forward. Camilla's private office did not get the news of the decision immediately. They would learn later through formal palace channels. When they received notification, it came as a brief official letter signed by the king. Camilla received the letter quietly, without press or ceremony. In that moment, the palace held its breath, waiting for the world outside to recognize what had already happened. After the signing, what Camilla faces in the world outside the palace. Once the decree was prepared and the publication timeline in the Gazette was set, the next question was a practical one. What does this mean for Camilla in her daily life at Clarence House and beyond? The answer is simpler and more final than it seems. The title HRH, Her Royal Highness, is not just a name. It is part of how the monarchy works and shapes everything. Briefings, communications, ceremonial roles, and the respect shown in every interaction with the outside world. Without the title, respect fades. Briefings change and access becomes limited. If someone loses the HRH title, they are not just seen differently, they lose their place in the monarchy structure. Camilla no longer holds the title of Queen Consort. Without this title, her formal role disappears entirely. She is no longer involved in the Crown's official activities. Everything at Clarence House, including staff, budget, schedule, and communication channels, will undergo review due to the new decree. These changes are not punishments, but necessary adjustments based on her new status. The palace has a history of handling these matters with care. Camilla is still married to Charles, and he has not indicated any desire to end their personal relationship. What has changed is her authority. The recognition that made Camilla an official part of the monarchy is gone. The legal document that established her role has been replaced by one that removes it. The Gazette will publish both documents without any comments. For those watching the palace in 2025 and 2026, the tensions leading to this change were clear. Reports from Heat magazine in June 2026 noted that Princess Anne became fiercely protective of Beatrice and Eugenie after they were quietly excluded from royal events, which some in the palace attributed to Camilla. OK magazine reported in January 2026 that the relationship between Camilla and Princess Kate resembled open warfare within the palace. Radar Online reported in April 2026 that Charles worried about Camilla's future when William eventually becomes king. William has struggled to accept his stepmother, holding on to feelings of resentment. He has managed diplomatically but has never resolved them completely. The decree does not fix these tensions. It makes the ongoing issues official. The impact on the monarchy is already noticeable. With Anne's authority strengthened, William's role as the next king becoming clearer each month, and the palace now operating under a unified command between the king and those allowed to act on his behalf, the institution has taken action. It has clearly removed potential risks without apology. Camilla spent many years changing public opinion and building her influence. She came to the palace as the most unpopular woman in Britain, but worked hard to improve that image. She succeeded more than many expected early in her relationship with Charles. However, the monarchy values legal status over public perception. Camilla's official title and recognition within the institution were always conditional. That condition was the king's ongoing support. Now that support has been formally expressed. The decision is final, and the Gazette will publish it without extra comments. Camilla, no matter what she meant to Charles personally, is no longer the same person in relation to Charles as she was when he was king. The document is signed, and the Gazette will report it in accordance with the law, without commentary, emotion, or notes on the years it took to reach this point. This is how the institution functions. It follows a certain logic to survive. History will mark the date and the names on the document. After this decision, there will be silence, with no media coverage or mention in the official records. Some decisions are made public loudly, while others happen quietly. The most significant decisions that redefine power structures are often those the palace does not explain at all.